Well, I'm gonna go with pig meat though, because I just love smoking pigs.
Hello, check. Hello, check. Check, mic testing 1 2. Hello, check. So our PA team was so motivated by the appreciation. They are all gung-ho now. They're in weekend mode. Okay. Right, welcome everyone. Good afternoon. Let's clap for the fact that we've showed up. Day 2, after lunch we've showed up, which is great, which means there's something right about this workshop, right? Thank you for showing up. This is the last part of the workshop and the most fascinating part, my favorite part of the workshop, because we're going to discover something called glossophobia. Okay, that is the technical term for the fear of public speaking, and you're going to understand where it comes from, why it happens, and how you can deal with it. Okay, so for this I want to kind of share a little story with you, and this story goes back to the time when we were hunters. We used to live in caves. So back in the caves there was this tribe, and this tribe had people divided into roles just like any other tribe. So there was somebody in charge of hunting, there was somebody in charge of keeping a watch on the animals, there was somebody in charge of the rules of the tribe. So they had a system going on. You know, back in those days, tribes had their own system. So in this tribe, there was a guy named John. And John had a very important job. You know what was John's job? To keep an eye and watch out for animals, wild animals. Because we lived in the wild, so obviously there were wild animals. So John had this job to alert the tribe if there was an animal approaching. And he used to do that every day and save lives in the tribe. And everybody trusted John so much that John actually became complacent with his job. So one day, the tribe was out hunting. The women were in the cave with the kids, the men were hunting, and John was at his job. Now for some reason, John in a moment fell asleep. He was tired, he was exhausted, and he fell asleep. 5 minutes of John falling asleep. You know what happened? A big wild lion walked into the tribe, picked up the kids, snatched them. The women were weeping, crying, fighting, and the lion took the kids away. And John woke up. And when I say woke up, he literally woke up to the damage that had been done because of that one wink of an eye. And the tribe was very angry. So the person who was actually taking care of the tribe, the in charge of the tribe, he stood up and he said, "John, do you have any idea what you've done? We've lost 3 children and 5 women are injured. How could you sleep?" And guess what? They decided to punish John. And you know what was John's punishment? It wasn't death. John was ostracized from the tribe, which means he was removed from the tribe forever. John was told, "You're no longer a part of our tribe, you can leave." So John had to get up and leave the tribe, and he ultimately died. What's the moral of the story? The moral of the story is that we, as human beings, are very, very scared of something called ostracism. Ostracism is exclusion from a group or a society. We are very scared. And this fear comes down to us from the time when we were hunters, right? It comes down to us from John. It's been passed down from generations to us. We are very scared of making mistakes, of goofing up, of failure, because the punishment of goofing up or failure is exclusion from a tribe. You would die. And that is why prison is still a form of punishment today. What is prison? Going to prison is excluding somebody from the society. Exclusion, seclusion. So we are very scared of that. And that is why when you stand here on stage, you know, the feeling is that I am secluded from you at a subconscious level. You are separate from me, I am secluded from you, and I cannot afford to goof up. If I goof up, I'm gone. I see John in myself every time I'm on stage. Okay, so there is a deep psychology around this fear of public speaking. And today we're going to understand more about this fear in terminologies that you would have not experienced before. We're going to go very scientific to understand where this fear comes from and how to deal with this fear, right? Now, why are we doing this? We're doing this because we want to own the stage. Okay, now I'll tell you something very interesting. Regular speakers take the stage, whereas world-class speakers own it. When I say own it, this is my space. I own it. I'm very comfortable here. I fully own it, and therefore I welcome you into my space rather than feeling that I'm separate from you, right? So give your partner a high five and say, hey, you can own the stage. Can you do that right now? Because when you start believing that you can own the stage, you truly can. Okay, it is possible. And I'm going to show you how to fall in love with this place, right? It's not alien. It's all about understanding that I can use this space to create a lot for myself and for others. So how do you do that? Let's understand a little bit about what happens when we experience an emotion. What happens to our body? I'm going to ask you a few questions, yeah, and I'd love for you to interact. It's post-lunch, so let me see how many of you are awake. So we're going to do a raise your hand a lot right now. So raise your hands if you've ever been angry. Yeah? Okay. Raise your hands if you've ever been sad. So sad that you started to cry. Okay. Raise your hands if you've ever felt excitement, real excitement. Okay. And finally, raise your hands if you've been nervous, extremely nervous. So you're all human. Point proven. Right. Apart from that, apart from the fact that you're all human, I want to ask you a few other questions and get you to reflect. Okay? So when I said raise your hands if you've been angry, a lot of you raised your hands. My follow-up question is, how does anger feel inside the body? Does it feel something? What do you feel inside your body? I'm talking about your actual body. Can you feel anger inside your body? Where do you feel it? Pressure. Some people actually have high BP as a result of anger. What else do you feel in your body? Which part of your body do you feel the anger? Face. Breathing will be more. Heartbeat races, right? Stomach. Some people also have reflex actions, right? When they're angry, right? What about sadness? Where do you feel sadness inside your body? Yeah, you start crying, right? You can actually see tears. You can feel it in your throat, right? You can feel it in your posture, in the heart. Heartbroken people can feel sadness in the heart, right? So yeah, when you're excited, imagine you're getting an award and there are 500 people sitting there. A lot of excitement. Where do you feel excitement? All over the body, yeah. Where specifically? I'd like you to go to a time when you were really excited. Where did you feel it? Face? Hands? Expressions, legs, okay, okay. Finally, let's just imagine for a second, okay, that you're standing on stage and there are 1,000 people in front of you, 1,000 people in front of you. Where would you feel the nervousness in your body? Where would you feel it? What do you feel inside the stomach? What are they called? Butterflies. Butterflies in the stomach. What else would you feel inside the body? Sweating. You actually see sweat on your palms, right? What else? What else? Shivering. Right, right. Sorry? Heartbeat races. Words won't come out, you feel stuck, right? So, the point is that every emotion is felt inside the body. The body has a biological response to emotions. It's not just in the mind, you feel it inside the body. There was a guy called Charles Darwin, and you can Google him, who did a lot of research in this area. And he said we are not separate. The body is not separate from our emotions. Emotions are experienced inside the body, right? And you will notice that, like you said, when you cry, you literally have tears. When you are sad, sadness is an emotion, but it's showing up in the body. Why am I shaking on stage? Because it's happening inside the body. Which means if I understand the body and I know how to deal with the emotion inside the body, can I deal with the emotion? I can. So a lot of trainers and coaches will give you tips and techniques on how to calm the mind and get rid of the fear. What I'm telling you is understand your body. Once you deal with the emotion inside the body, you will be able to deal with the fear even better. Okay, so this is very, very practical and scientific. And interestingly, we have somebody who's done a PhD on hormones. So we'll get some insights there as well, because we're going to be talking a lot about the different kind of hormones that are produced in several situations in our body, right? So he's smiling. This is your subject totally. What am I doing on stage? So this is the endocrine system. You've done a PhD in endocrinology, right? Wow. Okay. What is your PhD about? Oh, this. Ah. Okay. Interesting. Now don't worry. I know it looks very technical. We're going to make it easy. We won't speak at his language. We will speak at normal people language. Okay. So this is our endocrine system. This system produces hormones from glands. You must have heard the term hormone at some point in life. Raise your hands if you've not heard of this term. Good. I was checking if you're awake. Otherwise, usually people think raise your hand, everything is raise your hand. Okay. So it produces hormones from glands, and there are 8 glands that you can see here, right? There are 8 glands. Today, we are going to focus on some specific glands in the body. Okay, the first gland I want to talk to you about is the hypothalamus. Now, this gland does something very specific, and I'm going to share what that is. First, understand what do hormones do. This is what hormones do, okay? Hormones control and coordinate our metabolism. Does anyone know what is metabolism? Raise your hands if you know what is metabolism. Or we'll have the doctor explain to us what is metabolism. What is metabolism? Sorry? The waste that is thrown out of the body? What is metabolism? Right. Right.
That is metabolism.
Right, right, right. So it's converted into glucose.
Yes, glucose, yes.
Right?
For example, I am telling like that.
Sorry?
For example, I am telling like that, ma'am. If you take the rice or food, it is converted into the glucose is the energy form of.
Right.
So it is
And how
metabolism.
fast and slow that happens is also calculated when we talk about metabolism. Okay. So hormones are used to control and coordinate your body's metabolism, energy level of your body, reproduction, growth and development, and they are also responsible to respond to injury, stress and mood. Okay? I know a lot of information, we'll keep it simple. Okay? For today we are going to talk about how hormones respond to stress and mood. Because when you are nervous, your stress levels change, your mood changes. So hormones are responsible for that. Okay? Now remember, I told you we're going to talk about this gland, the hypothalamus. Okay? This hypothalamus, what it does is it produces this hormone called cortisol. Raise your hands if you've heard of this term cortisol. Cortisol. Yes. Cortisol is a stress hormone. Yes.
Sorry, I to interrupt. Hypothalamus not produce cortisol. Only pituitary gland is produce cortisol. Instead of hypothalamus produce CRH.
Yeah, I know, but I kind of made it short because see, if you go here, there is pituitary gland here.
Yes, ma'am. Pituitary gland produces cortisol, not
Yes.
hypothalamus.
I know. It produces the
CRH.
CRH.
Yes.
I know. There is a very long explanation. We've cut it down, otherwise people will not understand it. Okay. So there is a gland in the body near the, so we're talking about this pituitary gland. Okay. So for the sake of his understanding, there's a pituitary gland, okay, that produces something called cortisol. And cortisol produces stress. Cortisol is for stress, right? Now, what happens is, in a stressful situation, in a very stressful situation, there's a lot of glucose that is sent by this gland to the brain. Because the brain needs to fight a stressful situation, right? Whenever we are in a stressful situation, the brain needs more energy, the brain needs more power, the brain needs more effort to fight that situation, and a lot of cortisol is pushed to the brain. Okay? There's another hormone in our body called the adrenal gland. Now, how many of you have heard of the adrenaline rush? Anyone heard of adrenaline rush? Yeah. So there is something called the fight or flight response, right? Now what's the fight or flight response? So for example, when we went back, when we were talking about tribes, so let's say Bhaskar was a part of, no, Dineshji. Dineshji was a part of the tribe and he is actually hunting out in the wild and suddenly there is a lion that approaches. Dinesh, why am I saying Bhaskar? Anyway, Dinesh has this option. And he has to decide very quickly whether he is going to fight the lion or he is going to run away. That decision is taken in a split second. So for that, the brain needs a lot of glucose. The brain needs a lot of mechanism, a lot of blood flow. So what happens is, whenever there is a lion sort of a situation in front of us, it becomes a fight or flight response for us. Do I fight it or do I run away? There is also a third response called the freeze response. And what will happen, Dinesh, if you freeze? If there is a lion? Lion. So Dinesh is thinking, should I run? Should I fight? And game over. Right? So that also happens to human beings, but primarily we're talking about the instinct that human beings have, which is either to fight or to run away. Okay? Now every time you are in a difficult situation, what happens is you feel like there is a lion in front of you subconsciously. And we are dealing with lions today all the time. Cab not turning up on time. Our boss saying, I want to talk to you, please come to my cabin. We're already assuming the worst. Maybe boss wants to call us to give us a good feedback, appreciation, or say that you're getting promoted. But the moment he says, hey, can you come to my cabin and see me, please? Lion, right? Lions everywhere. We are constantly in fight or flight response, right? We are running all the time. And there is so much of this adrenaline that is getting created that we are not really calming down. So we have something called the sympathetic nervous system and the parasympathetic nervous system. And the sympathetic nervous system actually wants to show sympathy to us, but is not, right? So the sympathetic nervous system, what it does is, when it realizes there is a lion, there is stress, it will actually send out a lot of blood glucose to the brain to fight it. And that's not a good state to be in, right? You're constantly stressed. You're constantly stressed. And that is why people have a lot of diseases. So many diseases. I'm sure if you sit down with, what's your name? Your name, yeah. Shakti. If you sit down with Shakti, you will understand what is happening inside of our body, right? In fact, there is so much research that is happening today around the ovaries itself, right? The kind of emotions we are storing, the kind of stress that we are carrying, and what it is doing to the reproduction organs. Forget the rest of the system. So what we need to understand is that there is a fight or flight response that is getting created, and there are hormones at work, right? And there is a system called the sympathetic nervous system that gets activated when there is a lot of stress. And I'll tell you what we can do to deactivate that system and activate the other system. But we have to understand that all of this is happening inside the body without us even realizing it. We have no realization that all of this is happening inside the body. But there is a constant gush of glucose to the head, right? And all of these things are happening. Now, this is Charles Darwin, and he did something very interesting. He had an interesting observation. He once went to a zoo. Raise your hands if you've been to a zoo. And I'm talking about that Kanch wala, mirror wala zoo. Anyone been to the mirror zoo, where animals are behind the mirror? I like the way you say no. Who goes to a mirror zoo? I went to a real zoo and saw real animals. But there are zoos that exist. In fact, there's a very good one in Abu Dhabi. And the mirror, like the glass, I'm talking about glass zoos. That glass is so clear, you'll feel like that white tiger is right in front of you. Okay? So Charles Darwin went to one of these zoos that had the glass walls, and there was a snake. For some reason, we've been talking about snakes today. So there was this big snake that was on the other side of the glass. So Charles Darwin, what he did is, he went close to the glass and he did tuck, tuck, tuck. He did this. So the snake came and started hissing, removed the tongue and started hissing at Charles Darwin. And he was shocked. He said, why is the snake doing this? So he sat there, philosopher, thinker, Charles Darwin, right? So he sat there and he said, I should explore more kidas. So he went there, and after a while he did this again. Tuck, tuck, tuck. The snake came back. And every time the snake would come hissing, Charles Darwin would do this. It was an automated response. And he realized even if he was aware, he was doing this. It was automatic for Charles Darwin. And that's when he realized that there is a metaphorical glass between us and danger. Sometimes the danger is not real, but we perceive it in our head. Okay? Just think about this for a moment. Imagine I asked you to stand on a 2-feet stool inside your hall area. Is that the other room? Okay. Imagine if I asked you to stand on a 2-feet stool inside your hall area. You will be able to climb? Raise your hands if you'll be able to climb. You'll be able to climb? Now imagine I put this stool in your balcony, and there is a small fence in the balcony. Okay? And let's say I make it 4 feet, not 2 feet, 4 feet. Even if there is a fence in the balcony, and let's say you're on the 10th floor, would you feel the same confidence to climb that 4 feet stool? No. Because the brain wants to keep us in the safe zone as much as possible. And there are metaphorical dangers that the brain perceives and keeps us safe. Now the audience is metaphorical danger for us. It's not real danger. But the brain wants to keep us safe. The brain wants to keep us safe, and therefore the brain does not want us to fully show up. Because if you fully show up, you have this entire risk of the audience judging you. You have this risk of the audience criticizing you. you have the risk of failing in front of an audience. So the metaphorical fear is very, very high. The fear is not real. What is fear? You know, I understood this a while ago and it made so much sense to me, and you can write this down because it is so powerful. Fear is false evidence appearing real. Okay, because it's in the future. You don't know. There could be past evidence around it, but how do you know for sure it's going to happen in the future? And fear is future based. You're scared to do something, but how do you have evidence that it will happen? There could be past evidence, but how do you know it's going to happen for sure? You don't know. There's a false evidence in your head that appears real to you, and that is fear, right? So what Charles Darwin is saying is, in this exercise, do you see the snake around his neck? He's definitely not in panic zone, in comfort zone with the snake. But what he's trying to say is that his will and reason were powerless against the imagination of a danger which had never been experienced. Okay? Imagination of a danger, because the snake was on the other side of the glass. But he said that his will and reason were powerless. So when you are on stage, looking at so many people that might appear like these metaphorical snakes to you, your will and reason can be powerless. So it is normal. It is very, very normal. And it comes from ostracism, like I told you. There's a history to it. Our hormones are at play. The brain believes that we are facing a lion, there is a fight or flight, and therefore we are not able to perform to the optimum. So there is absolute science and history behind this, right? Now, what we need to do is, how do we deal with this metaphorical glass? Right? So there is a metaphorical glass between you and your audience. How do you deal with it? Okay? So the first thing to understand is that you need to sharpen the saw. So I'm going to give you some very practical advice on how to do that. There is something called a Toastmasters Club. Raise your hands if you've heard of Toastmasters. Okay. So Toastmasters is a not-for-profit organization which has speaking clubs all over the world. Okay, there are plenty of clubs. I think they must be in millions, yeah, because in each city there are so many of them. Area, district, country, cities. So these clubs are designed to help people with public speaking and give peer-to-peer feedback. So it's a safe environment. So let's say there are 20 people in a club. They meet maybe twice a month. And they have a 90-minute or a 120-minute meeting in which you put your name in advance that you want to give a speech, and you get 5 minutes to speak or whatever. You prepare your speech in advance, you come and you deliver your speech, and the rest of the audience will give you feedback. If you feel that you don't have stage time, yesterday we spoke about this, stage time, stage time, stage time. You have to be on stage to be good. Toastmasters is an excellent way for you to break that metaphorical wall between you and the audience, right? You need to be on stage. This is an excellent forum if you can join it. I think back then when I had joined, it was some 6,500 rupees for the year, and they give you some books along with that. You can also set up Toastmasters Club in your organization. It's a brilliant platform. It's very structured and it's very useful. So join a Toastmasters Club, right? What else can you do to break the metaphorical walls? I'm going to give you some real practical advice to help you understand how to do that. I still remember when I had to deliver my first training ever. Okay, and this was some, I don't know, 18, 19 years ago. I had to deliver my first training, and I remember the TTT that I went to, and I was with this very beautiful organization called JP Morgan Chase, right? And I was trained by the best in the industry. And I remember my trainer told me one thing. She said that if you treat every training program of yours as a debut, Almas, you will do a fantastic job. And that stayed with me. Every training program of mine, I make sure that I'm at least 1 hour before time. I'm setting up things, doing things, getting a feel of it, the checks, trying to do something different. Because till you don't do that, you take yourself for granted, right? So the debuts has stayed with me and I still ensure that. You have to fail. Despite all of that advice, did the first training bomb? Of course it did. I actually questioned myself. I said, what am I doing? Who hired me at JP Morgan to become a trainer? I don't belong here. I'm so scared. A lot of the ropes from childhood came back. But you have to keep failing. Raise your hands if you run a business before or you're running a business. Right? You know a lot about failure, don't you? Do you always succeed in your business? No, you have to keep failing. There's this guy called Gopal Krishnan who teaches a lot of start your own coaching workshops. I'm a student with him. And he says something very nice. He said, fail fast. The faster you fail, the better. So you can't keep sitting there saying, I am scared, I can't go on stage. You have to get on stage and fail. People are going to laugh. But what the best part is? People forget very easily. People are not concerned. Okay, let me ask you this. How many of you remember what you were scrolling on social media this morning? Kisi ko kuch yaad hai? You remember? What you were scrolling on social media this morning? Anything you remember? No. I'm sure most of us don't even remember what we ate 2 days ago. How are we going to remember the goof up that somebody made? People are too concerned with their own selves. They are not interested in keeping a score of, we overthink. We overthink. Do we remember a lot of stuff? Especially this day and age, the attention span is reducing. You're going to forget a lot of what I have discussed between yesterday and today. How much of it will you remember? Though I have used anchors and techniques, maybe you will remember one odd thing, which is the elephant, 1 year later when you meet me, right? But people don't remember. Our attention spans are very limited. So don't be scared to fail. You're going to fail, that's okay. People are going to forget. People are obsessed with themselves. Nobody is obsessed with us. Humko lagta hai, we feel that way. People are not obsessed with us. People are obsessed with themselves. So it's okay to fail. It's absolutely okay to fail. Yeah? Do small things and start failing. There's a lady in the US called Mel Robbins. You can write this down. Mel Robbins. And she's written a book. The reader in the room says, I know her, right? What is the name of the book? 5-second rule. Thank you. And this is not the 5-second rule, which is if you drop food on the ground and if you pick it up in 5 seconds, you can eat it. That's the American 5-second rule. Mel Robbins has got a different formula around the 5-second rule, okay? So she has a story. She was really struggling in her life to make ends meet, to live the best version of her life. She was procrastinating, didn't have the habits that she wanted. She was really struggling, right? And when you listen to her, just like any other motivational speaker, she will talk about how pathetic her life was and how she discovered this formula and her life changed. But what I picked up from it, and I tried it and it worked, and I'm going to share that with you, and it can help you with public speaking, okay? So what she says is that every time we want to do something that is outside of our comfort zone. For example, you want to wake up in the morning. How many of you want to wake up at 5 a.m.? Wake up at 5 a.m., wake up at 5 a.m., wake up. Everybody wants. Sleep at 10 a.m., 10 p.m., you will wake up at 5 a.m. But it's difficult, right, for some of us to wake up at 5 a.m. What she says is, let's say you want to wake up early. The alarm rings, tring, and it's in your head. And the first instinct is, what is the first instinct? What is that? What is the first instinct? If you really want to wake up at 5 a.m., you set the alarm with the intention to get up. What is your first instinct? Your first instinct, which is a very silent voice, is get up. Get up. And there are 5 seconds for you to make that decision to actually get up and get going. Because after those 5 seconds, the mind takes over and says, hit snooze. Why you want to wake up today? Tomorrow you can go for a walk. Today you're tired. See, so much work you did yesterday. You're so tired. You deserve this sleep. Oh, today you have so many meetings lined up. Oh, I don't think I have the shoes ready for today. Tomorrow anyway I want to go shopping. Tomorrow I will go. All of that tomorrow conversation happens when, after 5 seconds. What she says is, our instinct always knows what is good for me and what I need to do. But I don't listen to that instinct and I don't act. Because I don't act fast, the mind takes over and starts making excuses. So if I can act in those 5 seconds, I can change the game for myself. And she claims to have changed her life because of this rule. And she said, it's a stupid hack, I discovered it, and I changed my life forever. So I said, okay, tall claim, let's try it. And I tried it and it worked. So what she says is, you put your alarm for 5 a.m. in the morning and you go to sleep with the intention that you're going to wake up. When the alarm rings, all you have to do is count backwards. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. She said it's like the NASA launch. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then physically move yourself, like get up from the bed. If you do that, she said, chances are you're going to get along and have that early morning for yourself. So this 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 is the unfreeze technique by Mel Robbins, and it works. Okay? So let's say you are sitting in a meeting. Have you ever been in this situation where you're sitting in a meeting and you have an idea that you want to contribute to, but you can't? Happen? Yeah? You know you want to say it and you're waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting. Maybe hands under the table trying to do this. And then some Mr. Ramesh, no, not Ramesh, let's take a different name. Some Mr. Sunil says the same idea and everybody's like, wow, what an idea. And you're sitting there saying, Sunil, that was my idea. Did telepathy happen here? Right? So this could happen. So in that moment, when you know you have this idea, the instinct is telling you you have this idea, say 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 and raise your hand. Do it in that moment when you want to speak, when you really want to speak, right? Let's say you have to make a presentation and you feel like you're going to get on stage and be frozen. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, move your leg and start talking. It's a very good technique to unfreeze yourself. It's very, especially for people who freeze. This really, really helps. And it can help you in a lot of areas of your life. Because again, this is backed by science, right? You have to act immediately. I'll tell you, our mind is a very funny, it's not even an organ, right? Mr. Science, you would know, mind is not an organ, brain is. Mind is a very funny thing. You know, we have the brain and we have the mind. So let's say, for example, there is water lying here. And I have this instinct to drink this water. Now, before I go and drink this water, sometimes my mind takes over and says, you really want to drink water right now? The audience is watching you. If you drink water, then you'll have to go to the washroom. Then how will you go? Too much water you've had since morning. Wait, don't have the water. Now finally I don't have water. My first instinct was what? Pick up the water bottle, have the water. But the mind takes over and starts having conversations. Don't let the mind have conversations. Get up and do what you have to do with the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 rule. Yeah, it's very, 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 very powerful. The next thing that you could do is, very, very interesting, and this is something that I learned from my life coach. I'm having the water. Ramesh, you can have water too. I know it's post-lunch. She says, emotion is energy in motion. I'd like you to repeat after me. Emotion is energy. No energy when you say energy, yeah? Energy In motion. Right? Now there is something that we learnt about energy, and I spoke about this in the webinar as well, right? What is energy? What have we learnt about energy in school, in physics? What do we know about energy? Energy can? Give me a high five and say that loudly, please.
Energy can neither be created nor be destroyed.
It can only be transferred, right? Listen to this very carefully, okay? This will make logical sense. Energy can neither be created nor destroyed. It can only be transferred. And I'm saying emotion is energy in motion, okay? If you are angry, let's say for example, your anger will eventually fizzle out. Have you seen angry people, how angry they are in that moment? And they punch somebody and the anger is gone. Energy in motion. I'm not recommending you do that, but any emotion will leave us after 7 to 8 minutes automatically if you don't add fuel to it. And you know what is fuel? Our thoughts. How dare he did this to me? I want to take revenge. I will show him. Wait, all of these thoughts, if we keep adding, the anger will increase. But if you stay there, that energy will leave you. And it leaves you through your breath. Okay? So emotion is energy in motion. You are sad, you cry, energy released. Emotion is energy in motion. Right? The body will find a way to release that excess energy. Body is a very intelligent mechanism. It will not keep that energy inside. So you will not keep shaking forever. If you land on stage once and you're shaking, will you shake forever? No, you will stop shaking after a while. Life goes back to normal because emotion is energy in motion. So if you understand this, no, you can deal with your emotions very well. If I'm saying that there is emotion in the body, when I'm on stage, I'm nervous. I know that I am the next speaker and I'm very nervous. So emotion, energy, motion, everything is going all over the place, right? There's too much oxygen, blood supply to my brain, I'm in a state of trance, hands are shaky, all of that is happening. Now I have to transfer this energy like Lavanya said. I have to transfer this energy so it leaves my body. So what can I do? What can I do? What are some things that you can do to release that nervousness? If you're really nervous, hands are shaking, sweaty palms, everything is happening inside, what will you do? Wish we were all so wise to take deep breaths. Yeah, that is something you can do. Huh? Take a rest. Yeah. Is it easy to do that? Distract yourself. Yeah. Punch somebody. Don't listen to him. Yes. Who said have some water? Yeah. So that's one more thing that you can do, right? Because when you sip, and don't gulp water, there's a difference between sipping and gulping. When you sip water, it balances the energy in your body, right? And if you can go to the washroom a couple of times, then you've released that emotion, right? So this is very good. So today you know why you have to drink water. Otherwise, YouTubers will tell you, drink water if you are nervous. Before going on stage, drink a lot of water. That is because emotion is energy in motion and you want to release that energy and balance that energy in your body. This is beautiful. Most speakers you will see will keep sipping water, right? It's very nice. Somebody said, no, nobody said this, right? Okay, so go for a walk. What are some ways in which we can release energy? Physical movement. Any kind of physical movement. I don't know if you've ever been angry and you've gone for a walk. I said, why? Has anyone done that? Been angry and you slammed the door and you said, I'm going to take a walk. And once you come back from the walk, you are normal. Happens? Right? Energy in motion. So it's physical movement is very good to channelize energy. If you cannot go take a walk, maybe go to the washroom and just do this. Just release that energy. I guarantee you it will leave you after a while. Release that energy in whatever format you can. Yeah. Physical. Yeah, I was going to tell you that a lot of people.
I have seen most of women used to do that.
Yeah.
My mom used to do it when she was not okay. She started washing the vessel.
Yeah. Cleaning and cooking can be therapeutic, right? Some people use that as therapy. I clean a lot when I'm upset.
Even I mop the floor, clean the home.
Yeah, any kind of activity, any kind of physical but you can't clean and cook when you're on stage, no? You can't do that. You have very short span of time to release your energy there, right? So if you can go to the washroom, just release that energy in some form. I mean, that would be very helpful. Drink water if you can. But sometimes some of these things also don't work. And that is where you need to have the awareness to do something that she said, which is breathe. Our breath is so potent and powerful, it actually can channelize your energy inside, right? Energy in motion, you can actually release a lot of it through deep breathing, okay? There is a concept, yeah.
I would like to add a point here when we talk about this is about state here. Apart from drinking water and other stuff, the main fear that comes to a speaker it is to face unknown people.
Yeah.
So that is where this my thought you can add. So what I usually do when I am listening to large crowds, I'll go there beforehand and start doing open networking and talk and allow this is just want to say hi and what they do, just want to understand just an intro. When I have this intro session, so I usually at the time of talking, I'll be more comfortable with people that I have I'll feel that I already know these people and they are my friends, and I'll feel very ease in front of them to showcase my presentation or my thoughts conveyed. So this I used to do that before talking to large number of crowd.
Yeah, and you know why that works? Because the brain is designed to keep us in our comfort zone, in our familiar zone, because it feels safe over there. So when somebody becomes familiar for me, the brain understands that very well. But anything that is unfamiliar is unpredictable. And therefore there is a metaphorical wall. So yeah, that's a good idea. If you can go and mingle around and talk to people, then they are no longer strangers or unpredictable for you. By the way, we're just warming up, yeah? We're taking off. We're going to go deeper into the fear. We're going to do some exercises. We're going to do a lot to understand how to deal with this, right? Right now we're looking at some very basic ideas on what you can do to curb the nervousness. But yeah, that's a good tip. Thank you for sharing. Let's give him a round of applause. See, the round of applause is keeping us awake. So more people need to give us ideas. So I'm going to share 2 secrets that I have, that I use, a lot of my clients use. One I gave you in the webinar as well. I'm going to share that again. And they work very well. Okay? Sorry? Yeah, sure. After this, we are moving into an activity. We're moving into an activity immediately after this. Yeah, drink some water. Oh, you want me to share the secret later? Well, the whole idea was to say that it is my secret so that you wake up. But looks like it's... Sorry? You welcome my secrets. Okay. All right. So this is the first thing that I do. And I encourage everybody to do it. And people who do it see a lot of difference in the way they deal with their stress, their anxiety, their nervousness, the day they have to go on stage. You can do this in the morning. Let's say you have an afternoon presentation, do it in the morning. This is called the wall leg up pose. Okay? Or wall up leg pose, either way. So you just bring yourself closer to the wall and you put your legs up. Now she is trained and she's done yoga for a couple of years, looks like that. So her legs are straight, right? And her butt is right against the wall. For us, it may not happen, that's okay. However you can lift your legs up. Now what this does is, it activates something called the parasympathetic nervous system, which means that the blood flow will go to the digestive system, which is where it needs to go, rather than hit your brain and put you in fight or flight. It will calm you down. It will calm your anxiety. This is phenomenal. Even if you can do this on a regular basis, this is a part of yoga, right? Raise your hands if you've done yoga, practice yoga. Yeah, this is great. Yeah? This is great. This one pose is very good for anxiety. I know people who used to do this in COVID and saw a lot of benefits. So this is very good. If you want to go on stage in the morning, do this for about 10 minutes. Even 10 minutes is a long time. 7-8 minutes is good enough. And the second secret that I have, Sri Vidya, if you can read this for me. What is this? Sri Vidya is all awake now. Sri Vidya, what is this?
Jin Shin Jitsu.
Jin Shin Jitsu. Jin Shin Jitsu. It's a Japanese technique, okay, of regulating your emotions.
So
this technique, yeah.
Just to read it out.
Yeah, you can read.
Yeah. Worries, fear, anger, sadness, nervousness, happiness.
Yeah.
Those kind.
So there are different pressure points in our hands, okay? And this technique says that our emotions are stored in our fingers. Okay, it's like acupressure. Now the easiest way to remember this, don't worry too much about will I remember it. The easiest way to remember it is an acronym called WFAST. Okay? Worries, fear, WFAST. Worries, fear, anger, sadness, and trying too hard, which makes us nervous about life. When we are trying too much, we're too tired, that is when nervousness crops in, okay? So this is WFAST. Now what you do is, let's say you are experiencing anger, and by the way, anger is easy to remember, it's the middle finger, right? So that's WFAST. So you're really angry, you hold the finger. You hold the finger like this. Can I see all of you do that? Yeah? So maybe any emotion, let's say you are right now worried, okay? You can even hold the thumb, whatever comes to your mind. So hold that particular emotion, okay, and don't hold it too tight. Should be comfortable, and then you keep breathing. Keep breathing slowly as much as possible, and after a point in time, you will feel a pulse in that finger. You will automatically start feeling the pulse in the finger, which means the emotion has left you and it has come down to normal. Okay? I thought this was stupid when it was recommended to me, because we reject a lot of BS, right? There's so much of crap available on the internet and people telling you stuff. So I said, let me try it. Like always, I like to try stuff before I believe it. So I went back and I tried it. There was this time when I was very sad, very sad. I still remember that night. And I kept doing jin jin jishu, jin jin jishu, jin jin, and it actually worked. I said, this stuff is working. I don't need to do anything else, just do jin 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 jishu, jin shin jitsu. And it actually worked, right? Another thing that you can do is just press the center of your palm with your thumb. And if life is not going the way you want it to go and you're unhappy, it can create more happy feelings within you. Yeah? So this is very good. This is very good for stress normally, unhappiness and stress, right? So yeah, we don't know, body is a very complex organ, right? You could have different emotions stored in different places. So yeah, jin jin jishu works really well. Let's say you're sitting at a board meeting. Siddharth is sitting at a board meeting, the founder on one table, and Siddharth has a point to make, and Siddharth is nervous. Siddharth can practice jin jin jishu very well under the table. Okay? Yeah. Jin shin jitsu can be practiced anywhere. Okay, so these are two of my secrets that can really, really help you. And there is a lot more. As we go deeper into the fear, we are going to talk about what we can do to let go of the rope. See, all of this is band-aid at the end of the day. Sipping water, jin jin jishu, parasympathetic nervous system, all this is band-aid. But what about the real rope that we are carrying, which could be from our childhood, which could be from problems that we've faced as far as facing people is concerned? How do you deal with that? So I'm going to leave that for post break. I know some of you are really tired right now, and I want the last end of this meeting, this workshop, to be very interactive, full of energy, lots of insights for you. So take your tea coffee break, and I'll see you in 15 minutes. Yeah? Okay. Music, music. People are sleepy. Music. No, 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 no. Not at all, not at all.